What up, Doe? What up, Doe? How you doing, Eve?
What up, Doctor Winters? What's going on?
Fine, fine, fine. Just trying to trying to relax, trying to figure this thing out. I mean, you got my mind. My mind is being all twisted, and let me see. Is it over there or over here? I don't know. I don't know because see, so many people keep contacting me saying you and Eve are making me think. That's what we want to do. We want to make you think.
There
We
you
want
go.
you in a sense to be ready to you know we want you to be ready in a sense to just be who and what you are. Just do the things that you want to do, and
Yes.
that's the name of the game. It's trying your best and trying to learn, trying to develop, and just trying to really grow. Over the past week, the weather's been good. I'm feeling good. What about you? How's things going in Washington?
The things are doing well over here. It's been up and down, warm and cold. There's been extremes going on, but inside of that, everybody's doing what they need to do. We're getting our steps in, trying to get the children up and active because this is the time of year where they want to be real sluggish. So
Mhm.
up and exercise with them and get everybody moving.
How you doing? Go travel abroad. What up, though? You know, one day we're gonna have to have her on, and she can talk about the black mother's womb because she talks
Yeah.
a lot about what our mothers do to us and stuff. You know,
Oh, for
but
sure, for sure.
yeah, I know you work with the children, so I know that that's a very important thing because our kids are our future, and without our kids, I don't know where we're going to go, where we're going to go. And it's because of our kids that we run into so many difficulties. And the reason I think it's a lot of difficulty is that as a man, you're always concerned about your sons, you're concerned about your daughter, But what is your main concern as a mom? Because I know you have several children.
Honestly, I just hope that it sticks, right? Something sticks. I really hope that the voice in the back of their head isn't a nagging voice, but I hope that it nags them sometimes. I hope that they don't forget some of this stuff, but I don't want it to be like, oh, there she is again saying all that stuff. I want it to be something that they remember or that they can pull from comfortably without it being like a such a sore topic. I know so many of us have that little voice in the back of our head and it's her and she's just a little like real annoying like a fly or, somebody that you wouldn't necessarily want to be paying attention to. I don't want to be that, but
But
I
you
know
know,
that
you
there's a fine line in there.
you're always doing something. I had five sons and one girl, and so my thing when my daughter was young is that I wanted to try to keep her from having a period early. And and so then I used to try to make her eat a lot of vegetables, not too much chicken, not too much beef, because see, chicken and beef, they put
Hmm.
in those hormones. And
Yes.
for a while, a lot of girls was having their period at 8 years old. And I
Yeah.
mean, hell, at 8 years old, you're having your period, but those eggs dropping, they want to have sex. So I mean, hell, you don't want them to have babies too young. But it's so complicated.
That's very interesting because our children our minis are vegan or plant-based for the most part, and their counterparts in school have already started their cycles, and our oldest has not, and she's in
Good.
that age range of these early girls who are getting their cycle, and I'm like, no, I know your friends have it yet, but no, it's okay. It's okay that it's not you yet. It's coming because when it
Yeah.
comes.
I used to hate it. Family, we're going to get to competence, but we want to let a few more people get into the room. So that's why we're talking this stuff. But you also feel in a sense is that it's so treacherous out there. And I remember I used to teach. I used to mainly teach upper grade. Then they had me teach fifth grade, and for a couple of years. But I taught sixth grade. Let me see, for about seven. I taught sixth grade for about 5 years. And and it was kind of hard because a lot of times, when the girls would get their menstrual cycle, sometimes their moms hadn't even talked to them about it.
Right.
you know, and they're in school, and then they have an accident. Then you got to call the assistant principal, go to assistant principal, and they're feeling embarrassed. And I,
Mm.
I really, I don't understand why more moms don't really try to talk to their children. But again, you don't know what age, and you don't know the need. And I don't know. You have a kind of daughter at that age. What helped you to be able to talk to her about that? It's very sensitive.
Not wanting her to be embarrassed. I saw that girl in school. I Not that I was that girl, but that girl was in my class, the one who didn't know what was going on and then had to try to navigate between a pad and tampon and whatever messy
Yeah.
clothes and all of that stuff. I didn't want her to be embarrassed. But I also knew that she wasn't developing physically like how the rest of them were. That a lot of the girls have had a period, like you said, since 8 and 9. She'll be 12 this year, and as I mean, we can see that her body is turning into a young woman now.
Keep her eating vegetables.
It's
Not really.
no, it's definitely something in the water too. Um, no, but yeah, just not wanting her to go through that, and then wanting to always have conversations with them. I never want them to be afraid, and I think this kind of rolls right into our conversation of competence. But wanting to do a really good job and make sure that these lessons that we're talking about, they don't just go in one ear and out the other. Because when you start talking about a period, it does lead to the sex talk, because you have a period because your your body is preparing for a baby, and people get afraid and start getting all ooh about that, and then now you've got a 14-year-old who's pregnant because their mom didn't talk to them about what happens after you have a period. um, I don't want to call it incompetence, but I think that it is lacking some competence.
Well, a lot of back in the day, in my day, if the mom told their daughter, "Keep your skirt down," that was, go. Why keep, they look like they would never say, "Why keep your skirt down?" They would just say, "Girl, keep your skirt down," and all that type of stuff without really going into a particular. But how would you define competence? How do you define competence?
Okay, so when I was thinking about that, I always wanted to start with the dictionary definition so that everybody can kind of have a starting point. But then I find that it's lacking. Dictionary just defines it as the ability to do something well. But I think that competence is actually way bigger than just being able to do something well. I can tie my shoes well. Does that mean I'm competent? No. No, I don't think that that makes me a competent person, but it does mean that I've got shoe tying competence. And then from there, well, now we've opened the gates for can we be competent across different environments? And then what does that mean? Is it just a job well done, or is it how we're attacking each problem? And I think that as we grow and as we're learning, you're not going to have all of the information. But as you learn and as you acquire new information, you're supposed to be plugging that stuff in so that each time you get better at whatever it is that you were doing. So whether you flipping a pancake or, running a mile, you will have grown over the course of learning that activity.
Yeah. Well, they claim that competence is dependent upon three things: knowledge, experience, and also personal abilities. And I think that it's very interesting when you think about competence, because you brought up a very important issue. Is that we do believe that when you can do something well, tie your shoes well, that's competent. But what I was thinking about in relationship to competence is that you run into so many different things, as a parent, as a lover, as in a sense, as a teacher, as an and getting through your life experiences, because I know that when I was growing up, and my mom and my dad, they were telling me this and they were telling me that, and a lot of things I didn't really give a damn about, because see, the thing is, this is that I felt that as a man, as a boy, that I wanted to have competence to be able to play sports good. Uh, Maybe try to get girl telephone numbers. Back in the day, it was you had a lot of fun, going around, getting girl numbers. But I know a lot of girls were mad later when you don't call them. But I mean, you just want to have that little black book
Haven't.
full, you know. And I know, and it's kind of wrong, but it's that competence. And I think that I gained a lot of my competence in terms of my abilities. I think through athletics. I think that was the thing that allowed me to be able to gain that confidence. I look at girls like this morning when I was driving. While I was driving, I went around. I was noticing, a lot of women, white girls, black girls, black women, white women, running around. I didn't see any brothers. And so then I was saying, damn, because I remember before my wife died, we used to go walking every morning, and we'd go walk. And and she was very athletic. She always kept her shape. You can look at me and tell I didn't keep my shape. And so then it's how do you find that confidence? How do you find that ability to be able to 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 manage things? And I think that confidence, a lot of times, it comes from you being successful doing this or successful doing that. What do you think in terms of confidence, in terms of you as an individual?
I think that makes sense and it's fair, um, because it kind of measures you up against you. Um, but is that the best measurement of somebody's ability to do something, or should we be looking at the best example, or should there be an ultimate? I don't want to pedestalize anybody, but if somebody's already doing a really good job
Mm-hmm.
across, whatever the role is, if they're already a really good teacher, or if they're already a really good basketball player, then you could use them as, well, this is the level that I want to get to. And then you would maybe mimic or mirror how it is that they got to there. Um, Basketball wise, Kobe and Michael Jordan, practice for hours and hours and hours. And people would say, well, you already know how to shoot the ball. And it's not just about shooting the ball at that point. It's, don't you want to make it every single time? Or even if that's impossible, don't you want to try? And maybe competence is lent to people's want to do better, or they get complacent. So now they don't have to be the best. They can just do it well enough.
Yeah, but see, that's the whole point is that a lot of times we think about this person or that person could be the best one. But here's where the problem comes in. Again, we go to those three things. You know, that experience, your skill in doing something, you know, your personal knowledge and knowledge period. But see, the whole point is this is that it appears to me that everything is case specific.
Mm-hmm.
I remember back like me, like my wife, we had our first child when she was 16, and so then and so then definitely we couldn't get married because people had to sign for you, but we did have our first child, and I used to remember how a lot of times she would be upset because her father and mother they wanted to control my son, and so then she got really mad because see she always felt that you should that when you have a child, a baby, you should always keep turning their head to make them go from side to side, and
Mm-hmm.
she felt that her mother and father they caused my son to have a kind of uh, what she felt was lopsided head. I thought it was okay, but you know how moms are. You know how moms are. And so then, but it was like even though I think she was very good. She knew what to do. I think also in a sense, it's kind of very hard because the fact is that they were trying to tell her that she was incompetent because she was only 16. But
Mm-hmm.
but then they felt that because they were in their 40s and he was in his 50s that they knew better. But in a
Right.
sense, so often, and this is what I think the problem is, Eve, is often that people is always trying to tell you that you're either competent or incompetent. How do you arrive at these feelings of being competent. That's one thing that I think is very hard, because see, it's kind of hard because you know, just like you know, what Go Travel Abroad said. What is the relationship between competence and excellence? That's a good question. What is the relationship? I think that competence, I think is being able to just manage it and do it well. Excellence is being above and beyond. What do you think in terms of that question he's asked? How you doing, Morris Diaspora?
Yeah, peace to Go Travel Abroad. I agree. I think that competence is the ability to do it well, but excellence is a whole other level. You're more than competent when you're performing excellently, and I think that um, well, you can't be excellent until you're competent. So I guess there is a succession from one stage to the other stage.
Yeah. But I always see competence as being basic. I think competence
Mhm.
is basic to me. Excellence, is above and beyond.
Mhm.
Because as I was saying, is that because of the fact that people are always judging you, and it's how you feel.
Mhm.
You may feel that you're competent, whereas in a sense that you may feel that even though you're competent, that maybe in a sense some people may say that you're incompetent because you may not be able to do things the way they do it. But I,
Right.
I felt in the sense is that I felt my phone keep bugging me, so I had to get rid of it. But I feel in the sense is that because of the fact that you have this you're almost schizophrenic in a sense because you want to feel competent, but then there's other people telling you that you're competent or you're incompetent, and I
Mhm.
and I and I think that this is the whole reality. Okay, just like I think that people sometimes there's men and there's women. These men and women, they have a lot of experience with the opposite sex, you know. And even though they have a lot of experience with the opposite sex, even though they have a lot of knowledge about the opposite sex, sometimes they may choose partners who as an outsider, I may think shows that they're incompetent because they may choose the same butthole or the same user. I mean, seriously. Just like the same thing with friends. When my kids were growing up, I told them this. I said, never really judge your friends. Don't really judge your friends because if you judge your friends, you might not like them. You see, when you start thinking about your friends and when you start thinking about some of the things they do, that may make you not want to be their friends anymore. So I said, what you want to do is that you want to always leave people the ability to sometimes be incompetent. Why can't you be incompetent? You know, is everything supposed to be so major? I don't understand.
That's a really good point. We're very judgmental people, and then we start thinking, I guess I'm better than you at this. I don't think that that's a bad thought to have because there's gonna be somebody better than you at something, and then hopefully y'all are on the same side so that you can be working together versus it being a competitive thing and now we're working against each other. But that's a really good point. Once you start knowing people's quirks and things that they're doing that are not necessarily the reason that makes you friends with them, you will start to have a very real uh, I guess an aha moment of, whoa, do I really want to be this? Do I really want to be this friend? This person's friend? They're late all the time. Like I can't ever invite them anywhere because they are always late. And then now you start taking score, and I don't know if that's fair, but maybe maybe we need to have mature relationships where we are holding people to certain standards, things that we would be doing, the people that are around us should also be doing or reflecting. And that's the company we keep is what we're going to be putting out there.
Did you want to comment on what Go Travel Abroad wrote?
Yeah. He a go Is that a girl? Go
It's
Travel
a
said,
girl. Yeah.
she says, is competence externally or internally validated? Which one is more important? That's a really good. If you take what Dr. Winters was talking about with the parent thing, he said him and his wife became parents when they were teenagers. And everybody is going to tell a teenager that they don't know how to be a parent yet. But everybody also knows that nobody knows how to be a parent until it's time to be a parent. So, I think that society will want you to think that it's everybody else's input that matters with regards to, how you're doing something. But really, I personally think that it's going to be your gauge of if you're accomplishing whatever it is you set out to do, because everybody's not going to know what you set out to do. And then if you don't tell everybody what your plans are, well, then maybe they're thinking you're going this way and you're actually going that way on purpose.
True.
So,
That's
um,
so true. But what I found over the years, I found, in the beginning, in the beginning of our marriage and the beginning of our relationship, it seemed to me that my wife or women look like women are under more pressure, and are under more scrutiny. More people looking at them trying to say you're either competent or incompetent, and it seems as though mothers try to take more control, and it seems like to me that as a woman, this is just from looking at it from the outside, it seems like a woman is allowed more to have more competence before they have a child, because it seems as though if they have a child, then everybody and their grandma and everybody seem like they're supposed to tell her what to do. Whereas a man, nobody's trying to tell me what I should do. My father had already told me what I had to do as a man to be a competent man. But it seems though they put more pressure on the female to be able, in a sense, when they have children, they put more pressure on them in terms of trying to make them feel incompetent instead of allowing them to feel competent as moms, and things like that. I don't know.
that's a good, that's a crazy comparison, because maybe you guys see it in a different environment. Maybe you get that type of overbearing, you're incompetent in the workforce, or, professionally, or maybe socially. I don't know. But, definitely once we become moms, the it's like the fix is in. You don't know what you're doing, and we're going to tell you how much you don't know what you're doing. But those same women in 10 years, 15, 20 years will tell you that they didn't know what they were doing and they had no clue, and they're just doing what they thought, or, they're listening to who they're listening to. And sometimes your mom, your grandma, your aunties, or whatever. But still, all five of our minis, none of them are the same. And two of them are twins. But then it's a boy and a girl twin. So none of them have a one size fits all situation. And if that's the case, if we're rearing little individual people who are going to grow into adults, then, we can't just treat it like, oh, this is going to work for all of them. Nothing really works like that for anybody.
But then we come back to that definition: knowledge, experience, and personal abilities. But like to me, my father, he set my competency level at a very simple base. And what he said is that as a man, you're supposed to take care of your family, and as a man, you're supposed to never leave your family. You're supposed to never flee. And that was the simple. It was very basic, and that's what I told my sons. How you doing, Nazar Bay 87? And that's what I told my sons. I said that this is what can make you a man to me, because I said that I'll always love you. I always love you. I can't help but love you, and I'll always be your bitch. What are you saying, Dr. Withers? I said, I'll always be your bitch, because, see, remember, moms never give up on their kids. I won't give up on you either. But I want to respect you as a man. And the only way I can respect you as a man is that if you show that you're competent as a man in terms of your relationship with the mother of your children. And that's been my only requirement for my sons. That's the only thing, you see, because I felt that my wife, she could tell my daughter what the hell to do. That wasn't what I was supposed to be. See,
Right.
you got it easy. You got it easy as a mom. No, maybe you don't have it easy, but you have it easy as a mom, because, see, the thing is this: is that as a mom, you're always you're able to show your competence because you're always talking to the children. If you're a good mom, you're always talking to the children. You're spending time with them and things like that. Like I used to hear these men and they would talk about men that have never been married or never had children. They
Hmm.
would always say that Kevin Samuels, who my daughter hates. I'm quite sure my wife would hate him too if she would have been around. But the thing is that he would always say that you couldn't really deal with women because the average woman, Doorbell, how you doing? What up, Doe? That you couldn't really deal with women if they had a child because they was going to put the child in front of you. But see, because these people were not married long, or they weren't in a relationship long, they didn't know that your wife is going to always put that kid in front of you. They're going to put the kid in front of you. You see, you're not going to. That's why you try not. You're not making love all the time. They're going to be tired and all that type of stuff. But you have to understand in the sense is that they come first. A lot of like Kevin would say, oh, you got to they got to feed you. No, the kid is going to be fed first. I used to always tell my wife, damn, I was here before them. I knew you before them. So you're being incompetent. You're being incompetent because you're not taking care of me. And she said, well, fuck you. The baby comes first. That's mean. That's mean. But I think in a sense is that's what I think is part of having a relationship. I think that's part of developing that competence. And one of the things that's very important in terms of trying to be competent is to be able, in a sense, to determine if you're right or wrong. Am I doing the right thing? What can I do to make things better for myself? And
Right.
this is very important. Like Go Travel Abroad said, my papa said, don't accept compliments because if you let them tell you you're good, you'll listen when they tell you you're bad. Maybe, but
Mhm.
that's very important. But I think in a sense is that because of the fact that I was an athlete, and because of the fact that I was an athlete, and therefore in a sense I found a lot of self esteem outside. I found a lot of self esteem from just knocking people down. That's all. Oh yes, that's what I loved about playing football. I can knock your ass down, and that was good. That was fun. You see, but so that made me feel competent. You see, because I always wanted to meet a challenge, but I always was a little jealous. I'm not gonna tell. I was jealous. I was jealous of the fact is that my wife, she built up a real good relationship with the kids because she's always talking with them, always trying to teach them this and teach them that, and things like that. And whereas it look like your kids don't need you as a man until they get about 13 to 14. That's when they come to you and ask you questions. But prior to 13, 14, everything is mama centered. I don't know. I mean, and so then did people make you feel incompetent, or did you always feel that you were a competent mom, competent in relationships? I mean, come on now.
No, I think that the onus is on people to make people want people to feel stupid. People want people to feel like they don't know what they know because then you have to lean on somebody else. You got to buy the book, you got to buy the course, you got to pay the price for the class because you don't know everything. And then you can go to Barnes and Noble or the library and see that there's a whole section of self-help books which are written by other people, kind of defeating the point of helping yourself
Yeah.
with regards to whatever it is. So, no, I think people are out here trying to make people think that they don't know what they know. As a mom, I'm learning that I know a lot of this stuff because they are little versions of me. Not that they're only me, but a lot of these things I don't have to guess about if I just sit and really think about me. And I'm not trying to put me on them, but
Mhm.
they already part of me. We don't have to make this complicated. And then maybe it's not me, maybe it's their dad, because sometimes that happens too. They start expressing themselves like him, or, and then you, the mom, aren't familiar with that, or you can't recognize that because you and your husband or you and the father didn't have these conversations. So now are you incompetent when it comes to your children because you can't help them when they're acting like their dad? I don't know. Or is it just the fact that you just haven't been exposed to it, or you haven't practiced it? And I think that as we're practicing things and as we're coming into new information, it is more opportunities for us to become competent and then to become excellent. But if you don't get that exposure, if you don't sit and practice with it, then you won't be. It will just be a hit and miss or a guess type of thing the whole time.
You know, Dorvell says, look at the word that is in competence. You have compete, and to compete is to be knowledgeable, efficient in the skill you're doing. True, but I think it's also important. Just what you said, Eve, is that a lot of times, in the sense, is that we come down to that experience thing, and also motivation. You have to have a motivation, I think, to want to be competent in whatever you're doing. For example, I played defensive end because I played defensive end when I first started playing in high school. I was 180 pounds, and I was 180 pounds, but I had to go up against tackles who were 235 pounds. And so what that made me understand is that I could kick your ass even though you were bigger than me. I could do the moves on you and things like that. So that made me feel that I could do that throughout my life. I felt in the sense that I could be competitive. And like Dorvell said, compete. But then I remember when I was teaching at Bennett, we had a junior beta club, and so I used to work with my colleague, and she, what she used to always say, we're going down there to win, and I would always say, no, we're going down there to kick ass, and she would get mad at me, because she said, why are you talking about you want the kids to go down and kick ass, and I said, hell, the reason that you want them to think about kicking ass is because of the fact you're going to be a winner. You want to overcome, and see, it's that competition thing. And I think that many women, when they start to have children, I love to see those women that are able to navigate all that advice they get from parents who aren't in the house with them, and aunties and everybody that are throwing things at you guys. I don't see how you can do it. Do you know this person?
Hey Joe, thanks for coming to the show. I think that's really cool. I think that's cool. But to what you've been talking about, you said, well, I'm sorry, the aunties and the moms and the grandmas who want to tell us how to do it. I don't think that they mean wrong. I think they mean well. I think sometimes they want to give us more than what we're asking for because they know that we're going to have questions that we haven't asked yet. But if the moms are anything like most moms, we're going to have to experience these things in real time for ourselves. One thing that I always got yelled about was the undershirt. Did you have this, Dr. Winters? Like, a baby has to always have an undershirt on. An undershirt. And if they don't have an undershirt on, then you are a bad parent because that baby needs an undershirt on.
That's what my mother and them did. But I think that my wife used to always have an undershirt on them. But
my kids, two of them sweat a lot. They're hot all the time. You put an undershirt on them and they're instantly overheated. I can't do that with them. But you can't tell my parents anything about that because you don't have an undershirt on that baby. You're not doing the right thing. And put an undershirt on that baby. And it's like, I hear you. I know we're trying to keep the baby safe and healthy and warm. But, y'all are going to have to trust that I've done this a couple times now at this point. Like, I know these kids.
But how you doing, Janiro 226? But the thing is this, that I think it's because the fact is that, a part of being competent is we've already established the fact that a lot of it is from the perception of people who aren't around you, and it's always outside perceptions that determine how they perceive your competence or incompetence. But I think also we come down to this tradition thing. Like when my mother was growing up, she would always squeeze the baby noses. She had to always squeeze their noses. I said, why do you do that? Well, you just squeeze them. Maybe it's some Indian shit. I don't know. that she was Choctaw, so maybe it was Indian. Squeeze the nose, squeeze the nose. I mean, a lot of times it didn't really help. The nose still stayed wide or whatever. But the thing is, this is that it's very important in the sense that you always follow tradition, like with the T-shirt thing.
Hmm.
You want to follow tradition, and it's things like that. And I think that you also want to be competent in your community. You want the people around you to say, hey, that brother, that sister, she knows what she's doing. She know how to handle it. For example, when I was a teenager, you know, I couldn't play basketball because it was 10 of us, and because it was 10 of us, then my mom couldn't buy us the real expensive gym shoes. Back then it was Converse. I know today a lot of white girls wear Converse gym shoes, but when I was growing up, the best basketball players, and they always wore Converse. And if you didn't
Hmm.
have Converses, if it before a gym, you go in there and everybody on the basketball, you couldn't play. They wouldn't let you play because you didn't have Converses. So it was like you were incompetent because of the fact that your mom or your dad couldn't give you this, or give you that the rest of the community had. Did you have any things that girls would put pressure on you to have that maybe your mom couldn't provide for you or something like
That's
that?
kind of the example you're giving of the shoes is kind of crazy because, I mean, in the same sense, Jordans, I never, my parents never bought me a pair of Jordans. I,
Okay.
my husband just bought me a pair of Jordans recently. It's my first pair of Jordans. Like, ooh, it's like this big thing. But in grade school, if you didn't have specific basketball shoes, you didn't know how to play
Yeah.
basketball. And I grew up with a court, so I know how to shoot. And you can't tell me I don't know how to shoot or I don't know how to play
Yeah.
basketball because I don't have Jordans. But no, people absolutely were trying to make us feel like, yeah, no, you can't play ball. You don't have the right shoes on. And I'm like, what do you, I got
Yeah.
shoes on, I can run with these shoes on, what do you mean? And they were thinking of a whole other thing, and it had
Yeah.
nothing to do with competence as much as it had to do with what they were perceiving um, made somebody a good basketball player. But it made me think of confidence. So whoever asked us the question about the word inside of competence, you made me think about how confidence and competence sound similar. And if you are competent, then you can be confident. And then a lot of us are struggling inside of there. We're not confident to show people that we are competent. So then people don't know that you can do all the great things that you can do.
Yeah. And I think, but we're always looking for this. Go Traveler Abroad said, I think the knowledge aspect is critical. Externally validated competence is highly subjective through culture and class. There has to be accurate reckoning and accountability for self knowledge. That's true, but what is accurate reckoning? What is, so much of what we do is defined by how people respond to us.
Mhm.
So much of what you do. Because, see, a lot of times, in a sense, Go Travel Abroad, you're right, it is subjective, but a lot of times you want to be accepted. And to be accepted, as a mom, as a dad, as even a person in the community, a lot of times you want to be doing the things that people are doing that makes them, in a sense, appear to be important. How you doing, chemistry, black magic? Okay, family, we're going to take a little commercial, and Eve is going to tell you about some of the things that she's doing.
Yeah.
Oh, could you go to present?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I got this working this time, you guys, because Dr. Winters got me with my user errors, and Etsy is no longer messing with the site. But if you go to justeveagain.etsy.com, you will see my site, our site. And this is what we have to offer. I bake cookies sometimes. We're vegan over here for the most part, and we like to share our baked goods with you. I promise you will not know that the cookies are vegan. But on top of that, we have teas, and this is the season for all of y'all to be nasty and mucusy.
Ah,
Every tea that we have, right now, the digestive care is what you'll see on the site, but we have different formulas that will help you break through all of the yuck and the muck of what's going on during flu season. So please check us out. We would love to help you get healthy.
well, hey, we need to do that because the other day me and Yoshima was talking about the fact. Not was it Yoshima or maybe I was talking to one of my kids. I forget. I'm talking to people all the time. And we were talking about how back in the day we used to always had to take castor oil and things like that. Whenever it got wintertime, your parents made you take castor oil and to kind of it was a diuretic to make you in a sense, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time it used to help you fight colds. but
Mm-hmm.
then but then I was thinking during the pandemic, a lot of people in Madagascar, they just made a hot toddy because see, a lot of times when you got a cold back in the day, my dad, he'd have his whiskey, and my mom would get some honey, some lemons, and honey, lemon, and they would make it, heat it up and stuff, and then they would pour in their whiskey, and that was a good way. So, I'm very interested in that juice, and I think family, you should try to buy some of that juice. We need to get healthy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Excuse me. We got to get healthy. We got to get going. But to get back to this thing about competence is that so much of our desire to be competent is based upon our relationships with people outside, with how others perceive us. Because see, remember, you got to have the motivation to want to be the best. I always I wanted to be the best in everything that I wanted to be. Everything I wanted to be. I was listening today on on Shay Shay Monique was talking, and I was
Right.
listening to her, and Monique was talking about the fact is how she wanted to be famous. She made a mistake that I made back in the day. She said she wanted to be famous, and then when she saw a little fat girl Oprah on TV, she knew that she could be that fat girl on TV, and she wanted to be famous. And I was thinking about the fact is that a lot of times you don't feel that you had a competence to accomplish things, but a lot of times we're who we are based upon something that happened to us when we were 5, 10 years old that may have led us into a direction to want to be the best or to have competence in something. Again, as I said, I wanted to be competent in sports. I felt in the sense is that growing up, you know, um, you they wouldn't let me play basketball, but I could play football, so I got to be on the teams. And because Monique brought up the fact is that a lot of times when you don't have everything that everybody else has, they don't let you join the team. You brought
Mm-hmm.
up the fact is that even though you had a court, even though you had the shoes, even though you knew how to shoot, a lot of times the other girls will say, "Well, hell, you don't have the Jordans."
Mm-hmm.
I remember my kids when they were growing up, they were Payless kids. Payless. And I saw somewhere where somebody said Payless was cool. But again, in a sense, so my kids, a lot of times, I had 5 boys and 1 girl. So a lot of times, in a sense, they were Payless. And so then, when you, what? Let me see. We had just about all our kids by the time I was 33. My wife was 31. So, and my wife used to look like a teenager all her damn life. And so then people look at you and say, how you have all those kids? And the point is this. The point is this is that you want to be the best. You want to be the best. You want to be the best father. You want to be the best mother. But again, in a sense, sometimes we make a mistake when we're waiting for those outsiders to make us feel competent. You have to feel competent within yourself. You had to be motivated to do the best. And just like when Monique said that she was motivated that she was going to be famous. I remember back in the 1980s when I was a Black Power Muslim. When you Black Power, or when you become a Muslim, or you Black Power, everybody wants you to do ish for free, everything for free. Do it for the people, baby. Do it for Allah, peace be Allah. So everybody wants you to do stuff for free. And so then I remember when I was 10 years old, I said I was going to be an explorer and I was going to discover, I was going to be the first to discover anything in Black history. I was going to be the first. And
Oh.
I'd already made up my mind. And I was listening to Monique and just having that drive, but I made one mistake. I wanted to be famous, but I forgot to say rich and famous.
Rich. You gotta let
Yes,
it out.
I was really famous in the 80s and the 90s and stuff until the brothers got jealous and said I was dead. So they thought I was dead in the early 2000s, but I was still alive. But the point is this is that it's being competent. It's being in a sense, it's being competent. And I'm glad. See, travel abroad. That's why I like you. Ah, yes, Payless, yeah. You can make me feel good. But then the kids got upset when I started buying my children, you know, buying my children, Jordans and stuff. But again, I was thinking about the fact is that it seems though that the biggest thing, two things I think that really impact upon you in terms of feeling competent or incompetent is it looks like grade school is okay, a little bit junior high, but it looked like it's in high school where you're constantly being confronted with the idea, are you competent or are you incompetent? I don't know. Do you think
That's
that's when it
that's a
began?
good point. In grade school, you're still getting the outside validation from the teachers because you're still trying to figure yourself out. That makes sense. Middle school, you're starting to suss things out. But in high school, yes, your competence is getting called into question in a big way because can you talk to boys or can you talk to girls? It's really about that. And then from there, if you can't talk to boys or girls, depending on, if you're a boy or a girl, well, now people are going to gauge if you're cool enough to hang out with or do
Yeah,
things with. And well, now it's a social competence. And then that will make you I guess it could not make you confident across other things. Maybe you were really smart, but you couldn't get the girl to pay attention to you. So now you don't want to be smart anymore. I've seen that on the opposite side of things with girls not wanting to show boys that they're so smart. They don't want people to give them that attention. They'd rather get attention in a different way. Or, they want to be seen first versus heard, I guess. And high school is really that first foray into, can you make the other sex pay attention to you? And is that, are you competent there?
how you doing, Y2 Kenyon? Salute, Sister Eve,
Hey.
panelists, and chat. It's so true, but I think that I found that in high school, what made it kind of hard is that you'll try to form your little clique. Again, like I said, is that because of the fact that I knew I was God's gift to women, I didn't have any problems. Oh yes,
Of
my
course.
sister did it to me. My sister did it. She let her friends always be kissing on me, so I knew that I had to be something. But this is it. I don't like boys in the band because they took a couple of girls away from me. I don't like band boys because they were cool. And but when I got a football team, those band people could still take your girl. But again, like you said, is that it is so important because I know that as a teenager, as a young man, you feel competent if you're able to talk to girls. Back then, you felt competent if you could get numbers in your black book. It
Mhm.
wasn't so much about sex. Not everything's about sex for y'all, but back then, in a sense, it was just the fact that you could acknowledge that you had game because you could get a girl's telephone number.
Mhm.
That made you look like you were somebody. But then I noticed that as you get older, you move away from feeling that you're competent. You move away from this whole idea of girls liking you or you're able to talk to girls. As a man, everything goes to your job. And I think
Mhm.
that can be a problem because a lot of times it can go either way because sometimes in some relationships, not in mine, but in some relationships, I noticed that a lot of women, when they saw that their man became so job conscious, a lot of times that makes them want to quit their men and stuff, and maybe want to find something new. And it's because I know I don't want to talk about this because this can make a good topic. But I remember when my wife told me she wanted to find herself. I said, damn, I was scared. You want to find it? Damn, I thought you already found yourself with me. It's very scary. But women go through that when they get about, when they get, when, Kevin Samuels say when they hit the fan. But if you're married to a woman, she gets about her 30, when she gets about 35, 40, they start to look like they feel they're missing something. And then you start to feel, damn, do I still fit in? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what about me? And and
Oh,
and
man.
and so it's very different. It's very difficult because then you feel incompetent. You feel incompetent when your mate or somebody appears as though they don't understand you or they make you feel outside. Because see, I think that as an outsider, how you doing, Karen Vincent? As an outsider, in terms of what goes on in the female brain, a lot of times I used to feel I wanted to be nosy. I wanted to get in that mind, but I didn't want to be able to read her mind because I mean, hell, she may have been saying, "I wish I could beat your ass." She told me that in college. I wish I could just beat your ass, but they were, you can hit me all you want. Well, it's not hurting you. So it's complicated. But again, it's that yin yang. What is competent? What's incompetence? And we're always looking for somebody to define us, even in our relationships. We want somebody to tell us, hey, you're not bad. You're doing okay. Okay. But you hate it when your mate or your wife says, hey, you should have talked to him in a different way. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
should have handled it in a different way. You see, and I was ready to accept this stuff, but it can sometimes make people feel incompetent. It can sometimes make your mate feel like they got to argue with you or they got to fight you. And I keep thinking about the fact I keep hearing these people in these records, these rap records. I don't know, maybe it's being that rap lifestyle. I wasn't hip hop. I was old, but I don't understand how you doing, Donald. I don't understand how people can say you can argue and then you're gonna have sex with your wife later. I never met that man, but these people, I love to get in an argument and then we make up. It ain't like that. It wasn't like that for me. I talked to my sons. It's not like that with them. So I don't know where's all this stuff where you fight and then you argue and stuff. No, when you argue, you get a headache. You don't want to be bothered with that person, and it's hard to get over it. Most of the time, the next day you might can talk, but that night you're not talking to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
That's that's so real. We've actually had that same situation actually happen, where sometimes he's poking at night, and I'm like, I don't know if this is the best time for this conversation, right? Because soon we're gonna have to go to bed, and I don't I don't want to be all towards you, but you're just prodding and poking too much right now. Can we have this conversation later? But he's like you. He wants to know it all right now. And and there's a balance there, because it's not that you can't know. It's just that maybe I'm just not ready for the conversation in this time. But I want to go back to what you were talking about with how the job and your woman can make you feel incompetent if you're not doing all of these different things for her, or if you haven't accomplished a certain thing. And that's probably the opposite of what we're going through on the mom end of things. We're being told that we don't got it yet. I don't think people stop saying you don't got it until your children aren't children anymore. And then it was never that, oh, you had it. It's just that oh yeah, you did a great job. You get it after the fact, after they've graduated high school, no crazy situations have happened, no babies, no, whatever crazy you think, or the craziest thing that you could think would happen for a child.
yeah,
Say you escape all of that. Well, now people would be willing to tell you that you did a good job,
yeah,
but only if it's measuring up to where they think you should be at that time.
yeah.
Everybody's not going to college. So if I have a child who doesn't go to college, does that mean that I'm an incompetent parent because they didn't go to college?
You feel like that.
Sometimes. But
Yeah.
if you have a child who's very hands-on, and they've been enterprising and an entrepreneur since high school, they've been making their own products, they've been a businessman or a woman, and they're very much on their way, Why would I get in their way? Maybe I'd want
because
them to take some more business classes so that they can expand how to enterprise. But, you know, I don't know if I'd be pushing them to college per se, you know?
but see, that's a mom's thought. As a man, you want your kids to do what you want them to do. We was talking, my sons called me up today, so it was three of my sons were on the line, so they called me on the brother line. Most of I don't get calls on the brother line. So they were bringing up the fact they were saying that hey, so and so did this, and a friend of mine, their parent wanted them to do this, and their parent wanted them to do that, and they said, well, we did what we wanted to, but I said to myself, damn, you just don't really understand that I wanted you to do certain things too, and you didn't do it. I wanted them to maybe go to college. They went to college, but I wanted them to finish college. My daughter went to college, and her cousins and the girls all went to college, and the boys, they want to get cars and get jobs and money. And in a sense, I felt that, and but your friends are saying, oh, my daughter, my sons. I'll admit though, most of the time they're talking about their daughters, but you want to be different. You want to be able to say, my sons are doing this, but I love them and I allow them to see. I think that's the beauty of being a mom, like you said, that if you saw your kid and they wanted to go to trade school or whatever, they wanted to be in business, then you would be promoting them. And I think that's what makes some mothers good mothers and other mothers bad mothers. Coach Charlie Brown said, I think the sense of competence begins at home. For some, our relationship with competence and excellence might be just what we saw. This is how we learn approval. True. Maybe sometimes if your parents, uh, I don't know. What do you think, Eve? Do you think if your parents can sometimes feel that you're competent? Do you think that carries over into your relationships with other people?
Of
Do you think that
course.
plays a role?
Of course, it absolutely does. Go travel. I think that little bird or the little voice in the back of your head. I think that's your mom. I really think that that's her, and maybe it's not her for everybody, but whoever that maternal person was that helped rear you, that little voice in the back of your head telling you you know better, or you know you shouldn't be doing this, or you know you don't need another scoop of ice cream, or you know you need to go to bed, or you know you need to whatever, whoever that is, that's mom, or at least that's to me that's
But
mom.
but what about those moms that say you ain't shit? What about
Exactly.
those? And what?
Exactly. That would be the example that you got, right?
Yeah,
So she's now you're not able to show competence because you were never told that you did a good job. Or what if, because some people are not they're not verbal. I think that that's okay. I don't think you have to be verbal for people to understand that you're doing a good job. But the people who do what you just said, Dr. Winters, who are very actively telling you the opposite. They're not telling you encouraging things, but they are definitely feeding you that negative. That's that example that you're growing up with, kind of what we talked about last week. It's the opposite approach where you can learn from that. You don't have to be that, but that takes a very strong person to kind of overcome that.
yeah,
So
because a lot of times, your daddy could have been your daddy may have been really good about bringing home the money, blah blah. Like my father, I love my old man, but I would notice he did construction, so they got paid on Wednesday, and so when they got paid on Wednesday, he'd always come home, he'd bring the money home, and then he'd put his head down and stuff. And then my mother said, damn, why'd you get yourself together? Blah, 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 blah. Then my dad said, damn. That's why I just gotta go. I just gotta go. Why you do this? And I said to myself, my father was really slick. He wanted to go out since he got paid, but he wanted to make my mom feel guilty, make her feel that she's the one who made him leave because she
mm,
started nagging him. But at the same time, that's not. It can be kind of disastrous because the point is this: is that it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and we spend so much time, we spend so much time looking for outside gratification. We spend so much time sometimes looking for our peers to make us competent or incompetent, that sometimes we lose sight of trying to develop a relationship with our mate, with our partner. And I
Mhm.
think that this is the thing that makes it very difficult. Is 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 how do you become real partners? And it's hard to become partners because you're trying to depend on other people, and that's one of the reasons why I think you have to be respectful first.
That's 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 interesting because earlier in the show I was talking about how I think that we need to try to develop it from inside. But again, if you don't have a template or a standard or who you saw do it best, then how do you know that you're not doing it good? Is this just a, well, it's just how I feel. Like I if I feel like I can cook a pancake, then I can cook a pancake. And then I go in the kitchen and it's not a pancake. That doesn't look like a pancake. I mean, it might taste like a pancake, but I'm not gonna present this to the world as, yeah, I'm a master pancake flipper chef.
Yeah.
No, no. But at that point, it's not just because I know that doesn't look good, but it's because if I Google what a pancake's supposed to look like, and I take what I made up against what it is, and the math doesn't math, well, now I can comfortably tell myself that I need to do better if I want to be competent in the skill of flipping pancakes.
You got a good point there because I always want to make round pancakes, but my pancakes are never round. I was thinking about I want to buy something that I can pour in it so it can be
Word into
completely
the
round.
mold.
I want to be exactly round. And so then, but the thing is, this is that it's so very difficult. Then sometimes some women will say you just like your father. Your father's no good and all that. And a lot of times it can be very disastrous. Like Dorvell said, Dr. Winters, which of your siblings did your parents thought was the most responsible, and which did your grandmother think was more responsible? Well, my parents and my grandmother thought I was the most responsible, but that was wrong. It was negative, you see, because they threw everything on me. They threw everything on me. They made me have to do this, and I had to do that. I had to, watch the kids, clean up around the house. But see, my brother, he had left and went to the army, and my sister, my older sister, she was kind of she's a wild thing, kind of flippant. And so then they throw all this responsibility on you. And I think a lot of times when you're a responsible child, then yeah, you feel confident in maybe doing housework, getting things done, and they can respect you for getting things done. But it's not right in a way because the fact that we have a tendency is that the child that goes along, we put more pressure on them than the child in a sense that may be a little bit harder to deal with. We always look for that easy child that we can get to do things, and that's the one that we put so much pressure on all the time. I
No,
don't think that's fair.
it's not fair. It's it's kind of abusive, but I I don't think parents are thinking about it like that. They're trying to get from point A to point B, make sure that y'all are fed, that the bills are paid, that there's clothes on people's backs, and that that you're not going to get got, right? Dad's got to protect the family and mom's got to feed everybody. Um, oh, I like that question, Go Travel. If
Why
competence
don't you read it?
emotional experience. All right, so are we saying competence is an emotional experience or an empirical one? It's supposed to be empirical, but I think that our emotions will lead us to competence. If you felt like you did a good job, then maybe you would want to do it again. And then each time you've done a good job, you would be able to have evidence of, well, this is what a good job looks like, and this is what I did last time, and this is the difference. And if there is no difference, then maybe you're just average across the board. Maybe you can make a pancake, but is it that perfect circle pancake that you were told is that sets you apart from everybody else in the pancake game? I don't know. Um,
Because even in my lopsided pancakes, I throw in some little chocolate chips and some little
hey.
butternut, just to give it a little taste.
Well,
But I want to see the roundness.
it, that's Look, and if to me, if your pancake is tasty, does it have to be round?
Yes,
I
yes. I think a competent person, you know, okay, if I like buffets. My wife and my daughter, they used to always go to restaurants and stuff, and they would always go to new restaurants and they go out for breakfast. They'd invite me out to breakfast, and the people always make beautiful round pancakes. I want that roundness. I want that.
make it your
I want
own.
that IHOP round pancake. I want that. I want the pancake to look a certain way because we do just like me when I cook. When I used to cook when my kids were growing up, and their friends would come over and they say, your father cooks gourmet meals. And I used to think I was a pretty good cook. But I used to always like to include red and green. So everything had to be red and green. I had to have a green pepper, a green onion, and then I had to have tomato or maybe a red
Pepper.
pepper because I had to have those colors, red and green, you
Mm.
know. And maybe sometime when I burned it up, it could be red, black, and green. But it's this whole idea of competence. It's the whole idea of doing this. And Dorvell, he says, but Dr. Winters, you were the most successful. Here's the whole point. It's just like I used to teach. I used to teach uh, IQ, educational psychology. So one of the things was IQ. And so when I used to teach my students, I would explain to them is that you have a high IQ based upon what you're good in.
Mm.
So a farmer might have a high IQ for doing farming work. Maybe an engineer would have a high IQ as an engineer. And
Right.
so then success is relative. I think success again is not empirical. Success again is subjective. It's how people view you as being successful or being competent. And so whereas I feel that in terms of education, I feel super successful. But my sister Marianne, she's dead now. She could just cook anything. She could just cook just all type of good stuff. Because my grandmother, when she died, she gave her all of the good recipes. And then my other sister, she's really good at knitting and making clothes. And so then success is relative. Success and competence, I think, is always dependent upon how you feel or what's going on to make things good. How you doing, Yoshimod? And what
Ooh,
about
Yoshi.
Pure FBA? What up, dude? Yeah, so I think that it's very important in a sense that we respect the fact that you can have competence in one thing and maybe incompetent in another.
That is, and that's the kicker, because people think that if I'm so competent here, then, well, how you do one thing is how you do all things. And I don't know if you can blanket statement something like that. Like we said, it's a bunch of people out here who can tie their shoe. They are the best shoe tire out here in the game, but they can't make a circle pancake. Or
Right.
or they can't parallel park.
Yeah.
And does that make them an incompetent person? So now we're blanket statementing their whole life, their whole existence, because of one area or aspect
My,
that they suck at.
now my wife used to make beautiful hot water cornbread. Hoe cakes, all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
And so some people in my Patreon, they gave me beautiful recipes, and other people, my daughter, but I just can't cook it the way my wife cooked it. I don't know. I don't. Why is it that certain things I'm incompetent when it comes to making that the whole cake or the hot water cornbread, and yet I like it when it's cooked by somebody else. And that's the thing that makes it very difficult. You know, chemistry black magic says first in others' perspective. When you amass the self, you learn a lot of things that don't matter to others do. That's right. Some of the things that we learn matters maybe just to us. What
Right.
what what makes us feel that this or that? I mean, that whole idea of my sister, she was a great cook. She was competent, but I'm an incompetent cook. I can't make round pancakes. My other sister, she can make beautiful clothes, but I can maybe write, you know. And I was talking to one of my students, say, Dr. Winters, your books are okay, but you're not good at grammar. I never said I was. And I tell you this, when I taught at university and those young people would turn in their papers, they didn't have to worry about me grading their grammar.
That's my type of professor right there.
Didn't have to, I mean, they didn't have to have it all. I might still do put in the paragraphs and cross out some words, but I didn't really. I wasn't hard on them. And see, so give me a little credit there. How you doing, Marco Smith? You know, Yoshimot. Russell Richardson. What up, though? And I think that this is very important. Here's this is I think interesting is that pure say pure FBA said competence is consistency, maybe, but I don't know if it all. But that comes from the fact that the more experience you have, the better your competence. But then Russell Richardson said, "I was a latchkey kid. Competence was a necessity." Now that is very important, I guess. If you are a latchkey kid, do you agree that you had to be competent to be a latchkey kid?
No, I don't, but I get, I guess, what he might mean. To be a latchkey kid mean that you are responsible for yourself because your parents weren't there during, the after school time or maybe the before school time. You had to take care of you. So is that competence? Can you, feed yourself? Can you make sure that the house doesn't burn down before I get home? All of those things that say that you're functional. I think that, people could use functional and competent to be the same thing. And Russell, at your grand age of however old you are, I'd like to say that you were more than competent. You made it out of wherever you were growing up to now. And I think that your experience helped, your competence.
And I'll tell you is that I used to see that as a very important thing, because see a lot of times, it's hard to discipline kids, and I was never a good disciplinarian as a teacher. I could discipline my own kids, but as a teacher, I felt I was more of a cognitivist, so I felt that I would want to talk to you. But I had a whole lot of good, discipline around Christmas because I would always tell the kids is that if you don't cooperate, I'm going to have your mama had to come up to school. And when your mama comes up to school, she's going to miss work because most of the parents are working. Your mom is going to miss work. And when she misses work, you're not going to get, what is it you wanted for Christmas? You're not getting it. Because the thing is, this is that you use it to your advantage. And so I felt in the sense is that, it was good, but then I felt back then when I was teaching, not so much now, but when I was teaching in the early 2000s, 90s, as a lot of moms were coming back by what? By the by the 2000s, a lot of my students that I had in the 90s, they were adults and they were having kids come to, I was teaching their kids.
Right.
And so then the thing is, this is that you felt, and I think that as more and more women had to go to work so that you and your husband or you and your partner or you and your mate or whoever you're living with, so that y'all could be able to have things that's good for your child, and you want to make things better for your family, both people have to work. But I think that made a lot of parents that I came in contact with, they felt so guilty. A lot of them felt incompetent because of the fact they felt that they weren't at home, they weren't there to guide them, they weren't there to feed them, they weren't there to meet them, and they tried to compensate by overly giving them too much. And I think that kind of made the children kind of have a bad attitude. And in fact, I found that many kids would act up in class, so they could get the attention of their parents.
Right.
And that's kind of sad.
It is, especially because children are learning these tricks way early. It's manipulative. You shouldn't have to think about how I can manipulate attention or time, because you're not getting it how you're supposed to. But you also know that, mom's got to work and dad's got to work, or whoever's taking care of you has to pay the bills. So, you're going to do you're gonna you're not gonna burn the house down, right? You're not going to let strangers in the house, or you're not gonna do anything extreme like that. If a child puts noodles in the microwave without water and starts a fire, no, that's incompetent on parents' part, on the child's part, on everybody's part. Um, but no, that's interesting chemistry, because if the child knows that they're hungry and they know that the noodles come out the microwave, well, they're working with the information they have. Maybe they
Ah,
never saw mom put the water in, so that doesn't make them incompetent as much as they're just ignorant. And as soon as they know, boom, I need water. Well, now they're the best ramen noodle maker this side of the Mississippi. Competence is, I think, always going to be directly related to how much information we have at the time, and then what we're doing with it. If you're able to get from point A to point B, that might make you competent.
yeah.
If you're able to get from point A to point B quickly, checking all these boxes, well, maybe you're an excellent traveler. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to always think about what we know. And sometimes we don't know it yet. And that's not our fault, as much as if we want to do better next time, we're going to have to try to learn or figure
Mhm.
out where it messed up. Maybe sometimes people shy away from that aspect of it.
Okay, Chavez said, I remember back in the 80s, if you acted out in school, your mom would beat you in school in front of everyone. I saw that happen to a few of my friends. Yes, that may happen, but I'll tell you what I did is that I I had to stop that. I had to stop that in the late the 2000s, because in the 2000s you would get a child abuse. You would have a child abuse statement you had to sign. So if a
Mhm.
mom would want, I say, oh, you're not whipping your kid in here, you could take him into the washroom, but I don't want to see it. You take him to the washroom.
Yeah, I
But
don't.
but but the thing is this, is that it's very hard, because see, that all the time fronting your kid off in class, that can have a negative consequence. It's not always positive, because see, sometimes the kid may act up worse. I remember when I was teaching eighth grade, and it was my first time teaching eighth grade, because I had taught high school for the first 20 or so years of my teaching. I taught high school, so I was teaching eighth grade, and so I had this kid, and he came in every day, and he was a butthole. And so I was talking to the teachers. I was in the teachers' lounge, and I was talking about, so and so. He has a very negative parent. A very negative. His parents are no good. They're incompetent. His parents, in a sense, they need somebody to go and talk to them, because they don't know what they're doing and stuff like that. So one day, the kid came to school, and he said, I wasn't a doctor, and he said, Mr. Winters, why don't you leave me alone? I said, what? He said, why don't you leave me alone? My parents doing this, doing that, this. And I said, they're doing that and you still acting up? They said, yeah. And so I felt so ashamed as a teacher. I was talking about his parents, but his parents were doing the right things.
Yes.
He just wasn't, he just wasn't cooperating. He just wasn't cooperating. And it was kind of an interesting thing. And because see, at that time, one of my sons went with one of my sons went with one of my students' big sister.
Ooh.
And so they would be talking about so that they would be talking about this really mean teacher. And but they didn't know that I was the teacher and that was my son, you know. But I mean, hey, it was kind of interesting. But again, it's feeling competent. I think the thing is, you feel competent when you can do some things well, and you feel incompetent when you can't. I think that's it. But I don't think we can feel competent about everything we do. I don't know. Do you think? I don't think it's possible. Do you think it's possible?
I think it's impossible to feel competent about everything we do, outside of just, are we functional adults? If you're able to, take care of yourself relatively easy without a lot of hiccups, then are you competent? Are you a competent adult? Sure. But then do we only want to be basic? Like you said earlier, I think competence is going to be basic. This is going to be the bare minimum of what we need to be doing as people. And then is that where you want to stay? Because I don't want to stay at this bare minimum of existence. I want to do more. I don't want to do more across the board. I don't want to hike Mount Everest. Maybe I'll hike some mountain at some point. I don't know, but I want to make really good food. I like my rounded pancakes.
Ooh.
No, I want to learn more. And I'm definitely not a master teacher of any sorts, but I would love to get there. And I think that as long as we have goals and wants and ambitions, then excellence is in the future, is in our future. It's not a distant future either. But, if we're only trying to get through life trying to be competent, then, you know, your life will, it'll probably be average. Maybe it'll be good sometimes, but I don't know if you should be expecting anything more than whatever it is you have.
That you brought up a very interesting thing that I never thought about until tonight. Is that is 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 it is it really bad if your life is average? Is it really bad? I don't know because see you like to think about things, travel, like back in the 80s and 90s, I used to fly a lot of places. Now I didn't never spend any money. I was going to I was going to conferences and presenting at conferences, you know, and then so I was flying all over the place, and you get used to doing those things, and then when it stops, it almost crushes you. You
Mm.
see, when it stops, and so then sometimes I wonder, is it better to be average so that you can always, in a sense, feel as though you're so you can always feel as though you're being compatible with life, being compatible with your experiences, being compatible with your family, and
Mhm.
I think that's the beauty of it. I mean, do you really want your wife to be the super wife or the super partner, or do you want your partner to just be average? And I don't know. I don't even know if that is important in a
That's a really
relationship.
good thought.
What's that?
But is that if you don't, then you're safe. They're never gonna want anything else from you either. So now we're winning together in this average, baseline of a relationship. Um, and yeah, Shabe, I agree. What's average to you might not be average to someone else. Conversations and communications rule the nation. When you're with somebody, you should absolutely know what they define as average. And or what better than that, y'all should have conversations about what you think is excellent. If they did something really well, something you really liked, I'm sure you want them to do it again. And I'm sure you would have told them, yes, I like that. I liked when you did that. I want you to do it more. And this makes me feel good when you do XYZ. From there, I don't know if we talk a lot about the average, that was okay, because it wasn't bad. People aren't talking about the baseline things. Maybe we talk about, oh, I hated when you did that, or I really loved when you did that. But that baseline, that average, I don't know that we spend a lot of time there, because it starts to be demanding. Am I doing too much? Am I asking for too much?
Yeah.
Are they going to think that they don't want to do stuff for me because I'm doing XYZ? We start I guess comparing ourselves to each other, and um I don't know that we should do that, because
I agree.
I'm a woman.
Go Travel Abroad says average compared to media representation in real lives? Question mark. We can never know how much water anyone else carries. I think that's very important because see, I I don't know. I always felt I had the most beautiful wife on the planet Earth. That's what I felt. I felt that my wife was the most beautiful on the planet Earth. I always knew it was pretty women, and I knew it was some women that were really pretty. But I always felt that my wife was the beautifulest one. And since I felt that she was the beautifulest one, I didn't feel that I had to always, I didn't feel I had to always build up her confidence because she had good confidence. But sometimes I needed her to pat me on the, rub me on the head, and say, you're not as dumb as you act, nigga. Nigga, what? You're laughing, but it's true.
But it
But
probably makes you feel good though, right? Like that the
yeah,
confidence boost.
and see that's the whole point is that to me, you feel you need. I used to always tell this story about the rise of the mother goddess, and the mother goddess. I would always say that that man used to go hunting, and as man used to go hunting, he would bring home the food and he would bring home the meat, and then the woman, in a sense, she would cook the meat. That was when the Green Sahara. But as the Sahara became to be more savanna, and the herds would move further and further away, the men would go further and further in search of the food, search of the meat. And so then some woman said, "Hey, damn, hey, I love that nigga, but I'm hungry." And they looked around, they saw some grasses, and they said, "Maybe I'll put the grasses in some water, and I'll try to get something to season it, and I'll make a soup." Okay, and so when the man came back, when the man came back with the meat, and then the man said, "Damn, you looking pretty plump. You know, I was just out hunting for you." And then the women, they would take, in a sense, the meat, and they would throw it in the stew. And then the woman said, "Hey, instead of you going so far away, why don't you just go and bring that cattle here?" And I mean, I want my man to be with me, so baby, come on, bring the cattle here, and you keep the cattle around, and we can make the stew together. See, that's the whole point. Is that most men don't understand. I'm gonna tell you something, fellas out there. You don't understand that women allow us to rule, and they allow us to rule by allowing us to think that we're competent when we're incompetent. I shouldn't say that, but it's the truth. Because see, the thing is, this is that it was just like, remember, women made the first tool. Why? The first tool was a seat, and the seat was like what? The seat is like the crescent moon. Why the crescent moon? Because see, your woman, in a sense, if she had her period, she went into the house. She went into the house, and you couldn't have sex with her. So since your woman wanted to have sex with you, she made the first calendar. Women made the first calendar. Women made the first tools. Women encourage men, in a sense. Women encourage men to be able, in a sense, to be the herders of cattle. And so what you find, in a sense, is that when men look at it, is that we need a woman sometimes more than a woman may need a man. Because see, a woman, in a sense, she needs a man as long as those eggs are dropping. Once the eggs drop, well, hey, you want, go ahead, do what you want. Hurry up, get done. Are you done yet? Okay, we'll go to sleep. But anyway, but the thing is this is that you learn how valuable your partner is the longer that you're together. You see, and you gain more confidence in your relationship the more that you communicate. I think communication is more important than anything.
I agree. Um, it's crazy you're talking about the Sahara and the Savannah. I was just talking to the children in social studies today about when the Sahara turned green. I'm sorry, when the desert didn't used to always be a desert,
Right.
because it used to be green, and then what's it, 8,000 years ago, and then maybe about 5,000 years ago is when the things started drastically changing. And I'm thinking about what you're talking about, how she's like, no, bring the food home. We don't have to follow the food.
Right.
It can be right there. And then from there, we're moving our family into civilization, I guess.
Yeah.
We're not traveling anymore. And I'm thinking about competence with regards to doing something well. If the men were feeding us well, then maybe we would have always been traveling. But if that's not good for the family, or for us to exist into the next stage, then maybe we would have to change things.
Yeah.
And sometimes, maybe we are doing something well, but it doesn't mean that it's right, right? So maybe we would fix it or shift or evolve.
Chabé says right, because my husband always asks me to help him with something. Yeah, yes, we're very needy, even though we want to be the strongest, and we are the strongest in the way, in that way. But I think also you have to look at it from this perspective. Remember, the woman made the first tool, and that was the sickle. Bam. The woman made the first calendar because she wanted to monitor when her period came, so her and her man, could have intercourse and be able to have sex. And then on top of that, because of the fact that the woman bled once a month, but the woman didn't die, she became the symbol of resurrection. See, death and resurrection. The woman allowed the man to see that even though you died, there is a return, there is a regrowth, there is a re there is, in a sense, there's reincarnation through the death. But see, I really believe, in a sense, is that this is what makes a woman so important. In that, even when you study Black Aboriginal cultures over here, if you study Aboriginal cultures in Africa, the white men always said it was a matriarchal society. It wasn't a matriarchal society. It wasn't. The women only ruled because we made them the center of attention, because you need somebody who can use their mind. You see, because the thing is, this is that, just like me. I mean, hell, if you make me mad, I want to kick your ass. That's it. Whereas a woman might say, well, let's think about this. Do you really want to kick his ass? Maybe we'll kick his ass later, but let's talk about it. You may want to, think, if you got a good wife, when you fuck up out in the street and you do something stupid, your wife would give you that look, your partner give you that look, and then when you get home, she'll chastise you. She won't chastise you in front of people, you see, but she's
Right.
going to chastise you later to let you know that you have to do better. And I think
Mm.
that's important.
I think so too. You just made me think. A lot of people that I've had this discussion with about a woman president, they say that we can't handle it, because we're too emotional. We'll hit the red button at any altercation. But what you just said is more true. We're talkers. We're not necessarily, aggressors like that. Whereas the man, y'all are more ready to fight and get it over with than anything else. All this talking, all this back and forth is
But
very,
I,
uh,
I don't think a white woman could be a president, because white women, in a sense, they don't think independent. White women are too used to being getting their asses kicked by their men. They're too used to being controlled. A white woman usually grows up with a man wanting to dominate her, and he tries to dominate her first with his checkbook, then with his credit card. So then, therefore, I don't think a white woman could really be president. I think a black woman would make a good president, because I think a black woman would be more empathetic and more understanding. Go Travel Abroad says exactly. We should change with nature's rhythms, but we are a people in bondage to an exploitative worldview. So just because we feel competent, is it a valid competency? That's a good question. I think it is. I think it is a valid competency, because you don't want to you don't want to feel that you're competent in everything, but you want to be competent in some things. Like I want to. I mean, hey, I'd love to watch you cook pancakes, because I'll be learning something. You're laughing. I'm serious as a heart attack, because I learned how to make them round.
we're
No,
gonna make them round. We're gonna get you some round pancake molds, because that's how easy
thank
it can
you.
be. You
I've been
just
trying to
put
find
it
them.
right in the pan. But
What do you
Coach
think about
Carol,
that? That
I
that
like I
that
like what she said about that because, well, I like the question because it kind of goes back to, well, if I feel like I did a good job, then I did a good job. I'm competent. But if you already know what the standard is, then it's not about you anymore. Not really, unless it was always about what you were doing anyway. So people got to get more honest about what it is that they're doing. If the goal is to just make some pancakes that taste great, don't matter what they look like, then, then we go here. But if the goal is to have silver dollar pancakes, and you want those silver dollar then you can't say that you're competent if your pancakes don't look like that. We've already got the standard out there. So then people have to say, well, am I going for taste or am I going for looks? And then just be honest about it, because we can always do better. But if you're telling me that you're going for taste, but you're looking at my pancake saying that, well, that doesn't look like what I thought it was going to look like. Well, now you're judging me unfairly, and it's not about my competence as much as you're not even giving me the right rules to play by. Does that make sense?
So again, we're coming back. So we've got rules, we've got rules, we've got, in a sense, experience, we got motivation, and now you brought up something else that I think is important in terms of when you think about competence. It's the perception. How do people perceive? How do people perceive your abilities? Even though we can say, aha, she has good skills. She has a very good skill in doing this or in doing that. But then again, it's how we view it. It's how we see it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's where it is. So I think that honesty and communication will help people be more confident saying that they're competent. And then from there, if they want to do more, then they'll know that there is a place for them to go to learn more so that they can do more. Perception as reality.
Yeah, it is reality. I mean, that's it, isn't it? Isn't it reality? Because see, when you talked about, the good, like people say, I cook good tasty pancakes. They're just crooked, and some are this way and some are that way, and I want them to be round. But the thing is, this is it. Like you said, it's how you see it. It's your perception. It's what you want to be recognized in terms of your competency. And see, everything is only real as long as we perceive it as being real. Is that really real? I mean, am I really that person? My when we were talking today, me and my sons, one of my sons, he works for the post office. So he's talking about how quick and how the moves he has and how quick he is, and and that even though he's in his 50s, he can still move very quick. I said, good. But then I was thinking about that. That's how I felt. I felt as long as I could pick my wife up, then I mean, hey, I was strong.
Aren't you?
When I got in my 60s, oops, I can't do it. But she didn't say you old nigga. But I mean, hey, I'm Uncle Clyde now. Yeah. But the point is this: is that competence, incompetence, these are all in a sense perceptions. Most of it is real in a way, but it's not real. Mm-hmm. But it's real because it's how people are looking at you and how we see ourselves too. How we see ourselves. Because when you feel competent, you feel much better in terms of how you interact with your friends, how you interact with your family, how you interact with your partner, how you interact with your children. But then in a sense, deep down, you know that you don't have everything that is necessary to make you, A plus. You see, and I think that's important. And then we go back to what I think Go Travel Abroad say. What is average? How do you determine average? I think average is when you feel competent. I think in a sense, competence is really average. Because when you feel that you're able to do the things that you do well, I think that's good, because I think that it's very important. I know when I was talking to my sons today, they were talking about when I was little, when we were little, you and mom took us to the zoos, the museums, all that type of stuff. And he said the other people around in the neighborhood, they didn't go. And the thing is, this is that it's so important, and that makes you feel good in a way, because that's when your children are saying that you did something good. That makes you feel that, hey, maybe I wasn't that bad. I'm not perfect, but maybe I wasn't that bad. You see, and especially when they can tell you that when they get older, because I never drank. I still don't drink because my father did the drinking for me. Not that he was alcoholic and abusive, but then my sons, they always like to say, "Hey, here, take this." No, you're not going to get it. I remember when one of my sons, when he first drove up to the house one day, and I was outside, so I went over to his car, and he let the window down, and all the smoke coming out. What the hell? But that was none of my business. But I'll tell you this: if the police would have stopped him, he would have in trouble. But again, but again, you know, but again, when you talk to your children and they get older, see, a lot of times, your kids don't always show you that you were able, in a sense, to really teach them something, and you feel incompetent when you see them doing things that you felt they should know better
Mm.
than what they're doing. But the
Mhm.
thing is, this is that sometimes the things that you taught them will kick in down the road. Maybe I don't know.
No, it absolutely will. I've been there. I am that child who might, you know, parents might look at things and been like, "Oh, I definitely thought I taught you better than that." But I've also been the child to call home and be like, "You absolutely did. This was a lesson I learned from you. Thank you for this lesson." And I didn't know what you meant at the time,
Mhm.
but I know now. I know exactly what you're talking about now. And I think that those aha moments, if we're blessed enough to have them, you should call home and tell your parent that they weren't crazy, that it did click eventually at some point. And then, because we are harder on ourselves after we have children. Sometimes some of us are harder on ourselves, and you know we are thinking, is this enough? Does it matter? um if I've had a conversation with two sets of parents where the father is working all the time, and then there's the father who stays home, and both the kids know that dad loves them in both of the families. But the one who sees dad at all of the events, you know, they feel like it's something else. They feel like they've got something more. And then the dad who's not at the events, they're giving gifts. Like, I know I'm not there, but here, this is, I'm working extra hard. This is for you. So children, both both children are getting extra from dad in different ways, and I'm very curious about how later in life, these children are going to feel about dad. Is it going to be the one who was at the games, or is it going to be the one who made sure that they got the newest thing? Or does it even matter? Because is it bigger than that? Is it something else that he didn't do or did do that will make or break their memory of their father?
I think it's complicated because I know my one of my sons. We were talking, and I said, damn. I said, why? I said, I want to be with your mama. They said, well, I don't want to hear that. They said, I don't want to hear that. Be quiet. And then one of my sons said, well, maybe, maybe you have to be with us now because when we were young, you was always doing research at the library and the archives, always doing research. You was just research, research. And he said that maybe now that's why you're here. Mom is gone because now you had to share, you had to share yourself with us now. When you was younger, you was doing so much research and stuff, or at work. So I think that it is very complicated. But I think that the only one who can judge it, only one who can judge it is the kid. Your child have to define how they perceive life. And
Mm-hmm.
like Go Travel Abroad said, philosophically, the only task we may be able to accomplish competently is self-love. That is so true. It is very true that self-love is important. But I think even there you go into that problem. What is self-love? What is arrogance? It's all very complicated. And then you know Chemistry Black Magic says broken homes are crazy. Yeah, broken homes are crazy, but sometimes your mom and dad can be there, but because the fact they're not around, that the home can seem broken.
Mm.
Sometimes the home can seem emptiness. You know what I've found is that I'm not teaching now, but I've talked to a lot of my colleagues who are still teaching, and do you know that pandemic, a lot of kids have a lot of emotional problems. A lot of kids can't hardly go back to school. They can't hardly make it. They can't be around people hardly because of the fact, in a sense, being at home for those years and months has really affected some of the kids negatively. You see,
Mhm.
and that it's that negativity. It's that negativity that's not allowing them to really adjust back to coming to school every day. I don't know if you've experienced it. I'm not in the classroom, so I don't know.
That's that is a phenomena. I have heard about just the not even heard. I experience every day children getting up whenever they want to or thinking that they can just eat whenever because during the pandemic you did not have to sit there at that screen for 8 hours. You had the freedom to just go to the bathroom whenever you wanted, or if you were hungry, you could just go to the kitchen and get you some food. And now, that we're a year or 2 years out of that, and the kids are still having to adjust to the fact that I have to ask permission before I just get up and go. And not that I'm gonna say no, I'm not that person. I don't want you peeing on yourself, and I don't want your stomach growling in my class. So do take care of what you need to take care of, and thank you for asking me before, so I know where you are. But that whole adjustment period is very real, and I didn't know that it was keeping kids away from the classroom as much as I do know that people are still attending school virtually because of these, I guess, problems that you just talked about. They're just problems now.
Well, I had I had went back to teach in 2019 and 2019, and that was just when the pandemic started. But
Hmm.
at the school I was teaching, I wasn't at my home school, but at the school I was teaching at, because you when you retire from the Chicago public schools, you can't get your pension and teach too in the city.
Oh no, so you have to go to another
Yeah. I
district.
was teaching in the suburbs and stuff. And so then what the kids had to be on camera all, during the entire class. They had
Mm.
to be on camera. But like you said, they could probably get up, or they could go at any time they got ready. But
Mhm.
the thing is this, is that I think that the thing that I hate about is that I think that generation, I think they're going to be a lost generation, especially the kids who were in fifth to eighth grade. I think they're lost. I don't think they're going to ever recover. Maybe they will, but I don't think they're going to recover, because the thing is this, is that that's like when I was teaching college. A lot of kids who well, they were in their 20s, but a lot of kids who had learned to read during the word method, and they had learned to write just off of how they talk. They couldn't write like anything. They couldn't write like anything because they were writing the way they had been taught to write,
Right.
and they didn't teach you to really write. They taught you to, if you said you can write it. That's not always how it has to be. It has to be grammar. But what
Hmm.
I found is that if you had a good sixth grade language arts teacher, you'll make it through high school, college, and everything. If that sixth grade teacher was good, because I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, we didn't learn grammar. We just learned literature for 4 years of literature, you
Oh,
know. And I don't know what did they teach you in high school?
oh, we
Like,
had language and lit. So
okay,
it language and lit, definitely the grammar aspect. And I agree with you that middle school tier of language and lit will make or break a student across the board. And what you just said about this lost generation, I agree.
yeah,
There's going to be some exceptional students, right? Some more than competent students because of their upbringing, background, or just the type of student that they are. But there's going to be so many who get left behind because the standard for those 2 years was in the crapper. People were
yeah.
accepting whatever because we were all thrown into this
Mhm.
unknown. So now that the whole world is in this unknown state, well, now we can redefine what things are. Things that used to be baseline are now exceptional, and exceptional is just impossible. And then things that we weren't even accepting are now a standard that
Yeah.
you can accept. And I think that's kind of crazy that the whole world kind of got thrown into this redefining of
It did.
everything all at the same time.
Because it had got so that it had got so that we couldn't teach spelling. We couldn't teach spelling anymore, and
Hmm.
we couldn't teach cursive writing. I had got my yesterday. I had to take my car to the my car to have it the gas the oil changed. So when I was leaving, then the lady said, "Okay, you got to sign this. You had to sign after you've already they want to
Hmm.
sign." I said, "What do you do with these kids nowadays who who don't know how to cursive write?" She said, "Well, we let them just make a mark." I said, "That's pathetic. That's
It is.
pathetic.
It is.
We're
I
going back."
remember wanting to know how to
Yeah.
sign. I drew my signature for a long time. We did
Uh,
that. It was a doodle trying to figure
yeah.
out what your signature was going to look like after we learned how to write in cursive. Now
But
they
they
can
don't.
just
They
put
wouldn't let us teach it. Don't teach cursive. Don't teach spelling. I said I said to my principal, "How's the kid gonna learn how to read if they don't develop a vocabulary? And you learn the vocabulary by spelling." So I
hmm
don't know that it's that it's almost like they wanted to create a ignorant group of people, incompetent
incompetent,
people.
right? By design, if they are able to create a class of incompetent workers, then who are always seeking outside validation, then you will have a person who will never get off the hamster wheel.
Yeah,
And I think that's evil genius at that point.
yeah,
A lot of us are not designed to do that type of work, but if you don't think you can do more, then that's the type of work you'll do.
yeah. Just like I think about our president. He's got all these people around him from Harvard and all that, and I've never they're the dumbest foreign policy people, geopolitical people I've ever met. I don't go into geopolitics. I leave that to Dr. Short. But the thing is this is that we forget that the majority of people who went to Harvard, Yale, Rutgers, and all that, they didn't go there because they were smart. They went there because their parents had money.
Hmm.
And just because you put them in a top position, they still dumb. And that's what we're finding out. All this dumbness. They're supposed to have competence, but they're incompetent.
That's
They're
like a pretty pancake, a pretty ugly pancake. I'm gonna tell you, Dr. Winters, I've had a pretty ugly pancake.
I
Um,
want a pretty pancake.
no, when I say a pretty ugly pancake, I mean that it was pretty, but man, it was not good. So, oh, that's an ugly pancake. A pancake that isn't tasty is an ugly pancake. And do we want to just make things that are pretty that aren't going to be appetizing, or do we want to feed people? And I know, okay, I know, we want it to be pretty and appetizing. We're gonna get we're gonna get there.
Well, my wife used to always say I was stuck on pretty. And I'll admit, maybe I was a little stuck on pretty. And I had my nerve because I mean, you shouldn't be like that. But I like I said, everything had to be red and green if I cook it. If it's cooked, it's got to be red and green. And if I cook a hamburger, it's got to be red and green. I don't care what it is. But chemistry magic said we have to start mastering those lost sciences and rituals we do. Like today, we don't understand is that in the past, our children, boys and girls, they learned how to live, they learned how to be competent as adults. But now we had to learn this competence without any instruction. Back in the day when they had boy manhood classes and
Mhm.
womanhood classes, the adults taught the children how to be a man, how to be a woman.
Right.
And now we had to learn that on the fly. It's kind of hard.
I love my children's school. They have rites of passage where the
Okay.
boys are on one side and the girls are on the other side, and it's separate learning for that section of the day, for those 2 hours or hour and a half. And the boys will come home and say, "Oh, the girls got to bake cookies. I want to bake cookies," because it's cookies, right? And
Yeah.
everybody loves cookies. But then on the boys' side of thing, they're learning um, capoeira, and they're learning fighting styles, and the girls are like, I want to fight, so then we've got this, they want to do this, and oh, that's so cool on that side of things. And I always tell the boys, it's not that you're not going to learn how to cook. You're absolutely going to learn how to cook and feed yourself, but this is a skill that they need to learn, and protecting us is a skill that y'all need to learn. And then we can kind of bring it all together so that everybody's not doing one thing. But I love that that the director of their school has incorporated that, because it's necessary. We're not supposed to be doing the same thing. When I was in high school, my parents put me in an all-girls school for the very reason that public school was not offering these home ec and just opportunities for us to learn how to be women in the future. And not like home ec was teaching you how to be a woman, but these things that they couldn't teach us because they're at work, you should have been able to learn it at school, and you can't learn it at school anymore because they took it out the school. So
it's all complicated. It's all complicated. And but I think this whole idea of competence and incompetence, I think it's a very interesting topic. But I think what makes it even more important is to understand is that it's all dependent upon how you perceive it. It's all around perception. Yeah, you can have the knowledge, you can have the experience, and you can have the skill and to do something well, but that's not enough sometimes, because we're always either judging ourselves or somebody else is judging us,
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to present your merchandise again?
Oh, look,
100%.
you guys, when the
You want
math
to go to that? Want to go back to present, and let's go back to your website.
Look, like I said, you guys, it is nasty season out there. The teas that we have, they work. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they will heal you as much as they do the job that you are drinking them for. I want you guys to know that I am competent with regards to these herbs that we're selling here on the website. But even more so, in general, I think that having this site up here with these different products is showing the world that I'm just Eve, and we are learning together.
So, what's the name of that site again? You want to come? Is that just vegan?
Just Eve again. Just eveagain.etsy.com. See, we're gonna go just eveagain.etsy.com, and that brings you right to my shop. Where I have cookies and teas and t-shirts, and I make art sometimes if that's something you're into. But right now, during yucky, nasty flu season and people trying to jab you season, I really would like the family to take advantage of these organic herbs that my family sells. We source them from an organic farm in St. Kitts that's pesticide free. My uncle takes the time to learn all of these different herbs and what they're used for, and I find it crazy that we can have access to the answer and still not want it. So then, are we an incompetent people if we know where to go to get the healing that we're trying to get and we just choose not to? Or do we just not know enough? I like to think that we don't know enough yet. So if you go on the site, you can see the different herbs that are on the teas and learn something about you and it.
How you doing, Tones? I think it's very important. I think that's it. I I always fed my sons meat. Now my oldest son, he's a vegetarian, so he'll probably buy some of that stuff. But I always felt that I should feed my sons meat because they were supposed to be the warriors. We're supposed to fight a war. We're gonna take over America. It ain't started yet, but I had them ready. Family, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in tonight, and I really in a sense I really thank you guys in the chat. I love the fact that you're sharing with us things that you've done in your life, and I think that it's important because see, we don't know everything, but when we can listen to other people, when we can see where you guys are coming from, it can help us in a sense to make our life better. And remember this, family, is that you're not only helping us to learn something new, you're helping the family to learn something new by you sharing this with us. Did you want to say something, Eve, before we
Yeah.
close?
Shabe, we have three different types of teas. We have a detox tea, an immune booster tea, and a digestive care tea. And they do different things for the body depending on if you're a man or a woman. So just shoot me a DM or see me on the site, and I can definitely get you to which one will help you for whatever it is that you've got going on.
Thank you, Go Travel Abroad. You say
Yes.
thank you, Bob and Eve. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, everybody, have a good evening, and see you next week.
Next
Tell your
week.
friends and go to Just Eve and come on, subscribe.
That's
Subscribe here,
right.
join my Patreon, help me in my research.
Yes,
Take
yes.
care.